Recording in progress.
Um, all right, everyone, welcome back to My Kind of Weird. My name's Anthony. Now, my next guest, it's sort of a privilege and an honor to have him on, and he's sort of a voice of a generation of sorts, suddenly my generation. And without further ado, we're going to be speaking to Mr. Burton C. Bell. Burton, how are you today?
I'm well, Anthony. How are you doing today?
Good, mate. Good. Now, it's been a long time between drinks. You're obviously about to embark on an Australian tour in June with your solo band. So tell me, what gives?
Um, I've been working a long time on my next chapter since I left Fear Factory, and it's taken me a few years to get everything together
Mm,
to decide what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve. And
yeah.
I believe I've finally gotten there. I've curated a band that are I'm really good friend. I've become really good friends with. I've known these guys for a long time. They're not spring chickens, but they're not old either. But so it's
Yeah.
they're all great musicians,
Yeah.
and I've become really good friends with them. I've developed a sound. I'm developing a sound that'll define my next chapter.
Mhm. And that new single, the sound is definitely what I want to hear, and I'm sure fans of Fear Factory and fans of Ascension of the Watchers certainly want to hear, and we'll get to that in this soon. But I wanted to speak a bit about you were recently inducted into the Metal Hall of Fame. Now, I guess
Oh yeah.
award shows sort of, at least from Australia, they sort of have I guess this thing about them where we're not really too sure if it's playing the political card a bit. We're not too sure if, someone's just getting a bit older and it's time to induct them into the Metal Hall of Fame. But I'd like to know what it felt like for you to be recognized amongst your fellow metal peers.
First of all, it was a great honor to be chosen, to be voted in, and it was just it was a great honor and something I never expected, of course. And it was yeah, it was strange at first. It's like, oh, Metal Hall of Fame, but I've seen who's been inducted already, and it's not all old people. It's not all has-beens, and none of them are has-beens. But
Yeah.
like for instance, Tom Morello's in it, and the person that got inducted right before me was oh Alyssa Blues White.
Oh, yeah.
She's
Very
definitely
well
done.
deserved, hey, that voice.
So it's across the board. It's even the owner of Metal Blade Records has been inducted, Brian Slagle. So
Mm,
it covers like a wide variety and wide base of different types of people that have contributed to metal.
mm.
And it feels good to be recognized. And it's very honored. Still haven't got my trophy yet,
Oh,
but
I'm sure it's in the mail somewhere.
no, it's not. It's well, those fires were going on in LA
Oh, right. Yeah.
right at that time, and that affected the production as well as a few other um, little few other snags. But it's coming.
Mm.
Well, it felt great, and now I can add that to my resume, Metal Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like
Add it to your social media bio.
I'm like the Troy McClure of metal. Hi, I'm Burton C. Bell. You might recognize me from certain bands as Fear Factory, Into the Watchers, Ministry, GZR. I'm also Metal Hall of Famer. please, please follow me into my career.
Excellent. I'm pretty sure that is going to be used as a screen grab in somewhere on YouTube
I
now.
am Troy McClure. But
Um,
yeah, I'm so stoked to be coming down and to introduce my new chapter
hmm,
to Australia audience,
yep.
the East Coast Australia at least. And my whole new mantra is heavy, groovy, dark, and moody. So
Mm, love it.
whatever the music I'm creating, as well as the music from my past, my entire career, be it all those bands I just um, rolled off of my tongue. If the music fits that criteria, I'm going to be playing it.
Yeah, gotcha. Now, we've spoken a little bit about it already, and you're touring in June, and that's during the cold, desolate part of our winter. So make sure you pack a coat or something to
So
keep you
cold,
warm.
so cold.
Um,
Yes, I will be able to bring my leather jacket, so I'll be all good.
yeah, well, good news is there's no snow where you're going, so yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the desolation I want to talk about a bit because I feel like thematically there's a certain level of desolation in your music,
Mm,
with like heavy themes of dystopia, hopelessness, despair, and even science fiction.
yes.
Yeah, was there ever a conscious feeling in the 90s and I guess early 2000s as well that despite the new metal craze, that Fear Factory was onto something fundamentally different from your peers?
I, I think I recall feeling that way a while ago. I remember when we were writing after we had finished Demanufacture,
Mm,
the lyrics I started writing during that time wasn't during Demanufacture wasn't really sci-fi oriented, but what it
okay.
was, I started really talking about things that were social injustices kind of thing, and things that affect people on a broader scale than politics or any bullshit like that. I think talking about uh, social problems is something more people can deal with because, especially if I write about them in a more personal sense, then they can understand it. Like, well, I get it. That's how I feel. So it didn't really start until after the manufacture, where I was constantly going into like, let me take these ideas and move them forward into a whole different setting. That's when obsolete came in. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to write a story this time because, as I was going to say, for the first when I wrote after we wrote Demanufacture, after we had mixed it and it was mastered, wrote the press person at Roadrunner wrote me saying, "Hey, can you just write something up about each song for press?" I'm like, okay. So one evening, I just started writing paragraphs about each song, and I didn't describe it as like, oh, this is this and this. I started telling a story about each song, and that's what Roadrunner sent out to the press. I mean, I don't know if anyone still has it, but it was actually something that got typed up, and so it was like the template of what I did for Obsolete. And for Obsolete, I purposely was like, okay, let's make let's purposely make a concept record. Let's really go for it. If people think if people think Demanufacture is a concept record, let's really make a concept record.
I I with Obsolete, it's one of those albums that I that is one of my favorite parts of Fear Factory lore and your lore
Lord,
as well. Um because I believe it was based on a story called Conception 5, which was set in like a dystopian 2076.
yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, where machines have taken over mankind. Now, Burton, we're about 51 years away from that time. Are we on track for the machines to rise up?
I would say so. AI's the advent of AI has come already,
Yep.
and as Ray Kurzweil wrote so eloquently,
Yep.
he described that technology, AI, will exponentially develop by the year. So
Mhm.
what was developed 2 years ago in AI has grown at least tenfold since then.
Mhm.
So, and at some point, AI is going to start developing itself, and at some point, it's just going to start taking control of humanity, and its apathy is going to let it take control of all so many aspects of our daily lives that we won't even realize it.
Mhm.
So, the the takeover of machines is going to, it's going to be like a velvet revolution. We're going to let it happen.
I mean, that said, if things continue along the lines of ChatGPT trying to just reword things, I think we're fairly safe at the moment. Um,
Yeah.
um, for a long time, I thought the best Fear Factory albums were Digimortal and Archetype, but the older I get, I find that I gravitate more back to Obsolete. So I'm actually curious if you have a similar nostalgia that has sort of settled in for you as far as favorite era of songs to perform.
I do have, I wouldn't say favorite era, but what I
Mm.
have are favorite styles of songs I like to play. And comparing, it's like choosing who's your favorite. If you have multiple children, it's like choosing your favorite. You can't
Well,
really choose
everyone who
that.
has children knows there's a favorite, hey?
Yeah, true. But I Obsolete's great. The whole record is pretty cool. But yeah, Archetype has some good songs. Transgression has a couple really good tracks. But and then the Monolith has really some really good some tracks too, which is really cool. But you know, for my live shows, as I'm coming down there to perform, I am playing music that's going to cross my entire spectrum, my entire career of every band I've ever been a part of. So it's not just going to be Fear Factory or Ascension of the Watchers. It's going to be GZR. It's going to be City of Fire. And well, there's probably a Hate Face song in there somewhere.
Mm.
But it's going to be everything that is all sorts of music that fits into the criteria of what my mantra is for my new chapter. And that's called heavy, groovy, dark, and moody. So if it fits into that criteria, I want to play it. So
Fantastic.
I don't know. I don't want to really give away the set list right now,
Mm.
but we're gonna be playing in 15, 16 songs.
Mm. It's probably a good thing because setlist will get you. I was at a festival, setlist.com will get you. I mean, I was at a festival recently and everyone, not fest, and everyone was Googling setlist.com to see what each band is playing. And I'm just like, oh man, it kind of takes the mythos and the fun out of going to see a band.
Yeah, I like that. I miss mystery. I miss mystery in the music industry
Mm.
when you had to really like search out who this person was or really discover a band, and there wasn't much to know about them. And the more mysterious, the better. And for me, I want to try and mix up the set list as well.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not gonna be the same thing every time.
Mm.
That might prove problematic, but we'll see.
You've collaborated on quite and obviously written quite a many industrial metal songs that are considered huge hits, huge favorites by so many of your fans. I'm curious to know if you're across any sort of recent bands that are in this similar sort of vein that you think fans of yours should have their finger on the pulse for. I mean, I
Well,
recently saw Health, and I thought, oh yeah, what they're doing is a bit interesting. It's sort of like Nine Inch Nails and ish, but a bit more dancier. But yeah, I'll throw to you. What do you think are bands that people should be aware of?
I'm not familiar. I've heard of Health, but I'm not familiar with them. Hearing your description sounds like it's something that I've already heard.
Hmm, fair
But
enough.
there's a few good bands out there that I really like. And they're not necessarily industrial metal. The when I for me, yes, I love industrial and I do love metal, but what I music I really was into coming in was just like this very not avant-garde, but just very experimental noise kind of music, like or Big Black or Swans. Just
Hmm,
a heavy. It's like post rock, but not really industrial, but has those elements. And there's some bands out there that are like that. There's a band out of LA called Spirit in the Room that's really good, and they're really developing a
okay,
killer sound. They're on what's his name? They're on Housecore Records,
okay,
which is
yep,
Ben Samo's label. The person that produced my song Anti-Droid. Alex Crescione, he's in a band called Sortis Dominum. That's really cool. But they're more of like a, I wouldn't say symphonic black metal, but they're just really like it's like a type of black metal that's just like full on. They're really good. That's another local LA band. But and then there's a new band out of Oklahoma called My Witch My Blood. That's really good.
I think I've heard of them. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Nice. Let's
So
um
there's a
let's
lot of
talk.
cool bands out there. There's so many bands to try and catch up with too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When everyone says to me, oh, really? You haven't listened to that band? And it's just like, come on, man. There's so many out there now. Like
There's so
getting
many.
yeah. Let's talk about reinvention. Because I think it's fair to say that reinvention and reinterpretation has always been part of your career. Like from remix albums to collaborating with Cypress Hill and covering classic songs like Cars. So, is that
And
what let yeah,
Nirvana's school.
yeah, that's
The
a
Killing
great one.
Jokes Millennium.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest, some of my favorite covers feature you and has always led me to the belief that a good cover song should almost like reinvent it, but also stay in the spirit of it. But
Right.
in terms of talking about reinvention and reinterpretation, is that sort of ethos, is that what led you to the formation of projects like Ascension of the Watchers to sort of reinvent yourself in terms of what you were capable of?
Reinvent, I would like to use the word growth,
Okay.
exploration,
Yep.
t exploring different styles of music that I've always enjoyed and interpreting it into my own style, making my own. Like Essential the Watchers was a entire process of learning how to write music on my own, playing guitar, learning how to record it on my own. So that was a whole process of growth. Um, so reinvention, I think it's important for an artist to constantly go out there and yeah, your growth of an artist is developing new things that are exciting for people to check out. So for me, doing the same thing over and over again is not growth. That's just stagnant, and that does not excite me. That does not interest me. For me, in my entire career, I've wanted to move forward. I wanted to, you know, check the boundaries, push the boundaries, and move on, and not to be pigeonholed into a certain sound. So I think growth, reinvention is important for an artist, especially a solo artist. I mean, if you look at all the artists throughout the ages, I mean, I'll just name like a couple of like the most famous ones. David Bowie. I am nowhere near like
R.I.P.
him. I'm nothing like him. But his every album was a new iteration of his music and his style. It was obviously David Bowie, but he was exploring new pathways, exploring new sounds. And I think that's what you have to do to grow in society and not just as a musician, but with your audience because your audience is growing as well. Your audience's taste changes as we move on through life. So, as a person who loves music, I am growing as well as listening to all the bands that I love.
I think David Bowie had the absolute win as an artist. The idea that as he knew he was dying, but to actually have a record that was coming out after he passed away, and to have that,
Incredible.
and just for that to be, this is my final swan song. And it was also a bit of a fuck you to the critics as well, because, well, they can't really say anything negative about it because, well, they'll look like dicks, but, it's
Well, I'm sure there
incredible.
was some internet trolls that would.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah,
Um,
yeah, growth is important. Reinvention
yeah,
is important.
yeah, excellent. I feel like storytelling is very integral in your songwriting. We could use obsolete as an example, but I think it's fair to argue that it's been an integral ingredient of part of your songwriting style.
Absolutely.
What is
I,
yeah, what are the sort of when you're talking, when you're, I guess, incorporating storytelling into a song, what sort of, is there sort of a I guess almost like a way you go about writing? Do you go to yourself, okay, I want to communicate this story and then I'll incorporate that into the song, or do you do the reverse?
um, for me, so I developed my style of writing lyrics,
Yep.
writing words by through inspiration of other artists. And my favorite artist for a long time was a local boy, Nick Cave.
Oh,
And
you're talking my
listening,
language.
listening, listening to Nick Cave and reading his lyrics, I learned that Nick was just writing his life, writing his feelings, but he was telling it in a way that was just like anyone could understand it and relate with. So I wanted to, I followed his style of writing to create my own vibe, and I want to tell a story. And the best way to tell a story is from personal experience. So
Yeah.
100% of my lyrics, no, 95% of my lyrics are personal. I they're my own personal feelings, my own personal experiences, my own personal thoughts, and so it's easier to write that way when you actually feel what you're writing. If you don't believe in what you're writing, everyone's going to know it. Everyone's going to know if you're faking.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't believe in what you're writing, you're not going to present it and project it properly. You're not going to tell it properly.
Yeah.
So when I'm vocalizing, I'm not screaming, I'm vocalizing my personal thoughts and feelings out to the world. And it's not to me, it's not screaming. Screaming is a whole different thing. But I'm vocalizing my thoughts, getting it out there. So telling a story is all about understanding how to write about your own thoughts. And it takes a while to learn how you want to write, but every if you look at all the lyrics that I've ever written, basically telling a story of my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. I
A
feel
lot
like
of times, especially for Fear Factory, I put into a third person tense, so it wasn't like absolutely personal. It was like, oh, it's something that most people can understand. But I think I moved past that in a way where I can understand. I was like, if I just write it like this, people will get it.
yeah, got it. Now, your latest single, Anti-Droid, it's bold, relentless, it's very evolved, and it taps, I think, back into again the your history of storytelling in your music. But what was it like to get back into the studio and really just belt out another banger like this one?
Oh man, it was fantastic. And I owe I'm very grateful to the producer Alex Crescione who wrote the song and was willing to make that happen. Not only did he write the song, he and Vincent Cordero of Industrial Films did the video for Anti-Droid. So it felt great. I've done a single since then called Technical Exorcism that has like a live video, and it just felt great. I really miss being on stage. I really missed being in the studio. I miss performing live. When you've done it for so long, you realize that it's not something you want to do. It's something you have to do. And my soul pretty much calls to my soul to make that happen. And I'm more happier on stage than any other place because I'm a performing artist. That's what I do.
Those two songs just I was listening to Anti-Droid on Spotify last night and then that track comes straight after it and they just flow so seamlessly together. So the I guess the million-dollar question, Burden, is when's the next album coming out?
Well, no album. is on no album right now, but by the time I get to Australia, I'm gonna have two new songs
Okay,
released.
nice. Nice.
One is one's called Savages, which is you could probably find a couple of YouTube videos where we played it at our last show opening up for God Forbid in LA. And we were still testing it out. We recorded it right after that show. So that song's a banger. Just got a lyric video finished for it, so it's pretty cool. Another song that's called Cold Lazarus is going to come out after that. But right now, I'm still a completely independent artist, um, pretty much making it all happen on my own. I mean, I have management that's helping me along. I got an agent that's pushing things along as well. But for me, it's like I'm the one. It's like this is my name. This is my namesake. I'm the one who's getting the music done, getting the videos done. So it's I'm a completely independent artist at this point. So I would I'm just really hoping that Australian fans come out and support an independent artist who's coming all the way to Australia to make this happen.
Oh, it's incredible. I'm really keen to see you when you come out with your solo band. It's like those two songs that are up on Spotify that I've listened to are incredible. It's
Thank
almost
you.
like for me at least, you're traversing sort of between Fear Factory and Ascension of the Watchers and taking the best parts from both. So,
Yep.
look, I really appreciate your time on coming on My Kind of Weird to tell us about it. So, everyone who is a listener should go check out Burton C. Bell on his upcoming Australian tour.
Please
Burton,
come on. Please
thank you
come out
very
and
much for
support.
your time.
My pleasure, Anthony. Thank you for having me on your podcast, and I'm absolutely so excited to get down to Australia. Looking forward to banging out some great tunes for everybody.
Excellent. Take it easy.
Thank you.